The two powerhouses fought together in an instant. Yuan Chujian finally came. Immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Hurriedly flew to Yi Qinyuan's side and asked if there was anything wrong. Yi Qinyuan was more worried about his condition, especially the left hand, which is entangled in bloodthirsty dead wood. And Yuan Chu just wanted to drag Zhao Lao. In fact, the internal injuries are already very serious. The whole person is very depressed. But in order not to worry, Yi Qinyuan still held on to his spirit and comforted him that he was fine. Yi Qinyuan looked at the blood stains on the corners of his mouth. The look in his eyes was terrifying. The whole body burst out with a fierce killing intent. I'm going to wish the dean a helping hand. Yuan Chu listened to it. Hurriedly grabbed him. Battles of their rank. It's not at all something he can participate in. Yi Qinyuan's eyes only stared at Zhao Lao. Faintly told him to wait for him in the same place. It was too late for Yuan Chu to stop it. Yi Qinyuan had already rushed to the battle range. The sword in his hand suddenly burst out of the phantom. Thunder and lightning entangled the whole body. All who hurt him must die. Yi Qinyuan was really angry. The girl he held on the tip of his heart. He was hurt like this. A terrifying sword aura burst out from his body in an instant. The strong murderous aura made Zhao Lao finally face Yi Qinyuan. But he still felt that Yi Qinyuan was in the early stage of Jindan. You can't hurt yourself. Yi Qinyuan completely drained the spiritual power in his body. Pour it into the hilt of the sword in your hand. He's going to kill the man in front of him, at any cost. The next second, a pair of small, white and slender hands held his hand. And Chu, who had degenerated into a small round of money, stood beside him. Feel the power of Yi Qinyuan's sword. He decided to give him a hand. We're all in this together. There is no flowery rhetoric. There were also no declarations and encouragements. Just a word. It filled Yi Qinyuan's whole body with strength. Okay, we're all in this together. Both shouted out their moves at the same time. Half the sky's purple-gold greatsword with a thunderbolt. Swung it in the direction of Zhao Lao. Just for a moment. Zhao Lao was broken into thousands of pieces. Yuan Chu was originally injured. Just now, he used his weapons again. At this time, as soon as his body weakened, he fell to the ground. Yi Qinyuan hurriedly caught him. It's self-reproachful. If only he had been stronger. Pick him up and go back to heal. Was stopped by the dean. Shouldn't they explain it to him today? Yi Qinyuan's face condensed. The master was seriously injured. You can't procrastinate. Please also ask the dean not to dwell on it. Tomorrow I will inevitably give an answer to the dean. Seeing that Yuan Chu was indeed weak. The dean is not easy to stop. Instead, he handed over a bottle of jade liquid. The little doll was seriously injured. This jade liquid can be warmed. One listen is something that is good for the beginning of the Yuan. Yi Qinyuan did not refuse. Disappeared in place with Yuan Chu. The dean couldn't help but sigh. It seems that the academy will not be too peaceful in the future. Tianzhu Nei Yi Qinyuan hurriedly took all kinds of repair medicines. Feed Yuan Chu. After a while, Yuan Chu's face became much better. Just as he was about to use the 10,000-year spirit essence. When helping Yuan Chu repair his soul, Yuan Chu stopped him. He doesn't need it now. Yi Qinyuan thought he was reluctant. Hurriedly coaxed him to be obedient. Yuan Chu still refused. See what else he wants to say. He closed his eyes and said that he wanted to rest. When I heard him say he was tired, Yi Qinyuan was suddenly distressed, and no longer force him. Fingers brushed away the strands of hair that covered his face, and he saw that the roots of the dead wood on his face had receded. He was relieved. Yuan Chu was a little puzzled. Didn't the emperor's eldest grandson ask for his blood? Why did Zhao Lao want to kill Yi Qinyuan directly? Yi Qinyuan guessed. Zhao Lao's real master should be someone else. And that man wanted him dead. And he hated his parents to the core. I even wanted to kill him. At this time, Yuan Chu interrupted his thoughts. Asked him to come closer to him. Yi Qinyuan also approached defenselessly. The next second, Yuan Chu's finger pointed at the back of his neck. Yi Chen Yuan only felt a black stool in front of him, fell unconscious and slowly collapsed on Yuan Chu's body. Yuan Chu flattened him. Cover the bed with a quilt. I changed into a black robe. He was going to find the soul body that Zhao Lao had escaped. In fact, he used half of his soul body at that time. A deal was made with bloodthirsty Deadwood. Let him parasitize in his body, and let no one touch anyone. At this time, his spirit was not injured. It's half missing. Therefore, the 10,000-year-old spirit essence can't save him. He needed a soul to mend it. Just in the battle, he sensed that Zhao Lao's Yuan Shan had fled. And such a cruel thing as eating other people's souls. He didn't want Yi Chen Yuan to know. If only he knew under his lovely appearance. It's an old yokai who eats people. Will he not take care of him like that anymore? It's going to be painful. He went out from within the pillar. Fly in the boundless darkness. Look at the lights of thousands of homes below. There was a little mockery in his eyes. Sure enough, it has been watered for a long time. It's all gone. When I was alone before, he felt he could do anything. And now he seems to be a second-degree cripple. Lack of diligence in the limbs. A waste man who does not distinguish between grains. This Ishihara smells something in the air that can't be described. The corners of his mouth are hooked. Found Zhaozhua. I didn't dare to go back at all. Live to this age. Who doesn't have hundreds of enemies yet. You have to find a suitable body first. But at this time, an unprecedented chill suddenly ran out of his back. Hurriedly stared vigilantly at the black-robed man who appeared behind him. A ghost appeared in front of the girl. But he wasn't scared at all. He even wanted the ghost to get on him. Zhao Lao, who has no way out. A pair of wise old eyes glared fiercely at Yuan Chu, only to find that the beginning of the Yuan fell from the Yuan infant to the early stage of Jindan. At the thought of having such a cultivation at his age. The qualifications of this body are so ungodly. Isn't it just the right time to take it away? When Yin Yuanchu showed a sweet smile. That's exactly what he wants. Man, let Zhao Lao come casually. He promised not to fight back. The more you think about it, the more feasible Zhao Lao really plunged into Yuan Chu's body. The next second he found out, Yuan Chu surrounded him with countless spells in the sea. Every word on the symbol. They all seemed to devour his soul. I don't know what is going on though. But he still plans to destroy the reason for Yuan Chu first. It's a big deal to recultivate after taking away. But the moment he saw Yuan Chu yuaning, his soul body suddenly became indifferent. I saw Yuan Chu's little Yuan baby, who was exactly the same as him. Half is holy and pure gold. Half of it was an eerie black color. That's when he realized. At the beginning of the Yuan dynasty, he cultivated the legendary Demon Palace. Don't wait for him to want to leave. The red thread that appeared from the little Yuan baby. And they wrapped him tightly. Immediately in the corpse of the beginning of the Yuan. I only heard Zhao Laoqi's screams. Yuan Chu curled the corners of his mouth in satisfaction. Have you finally eaten enough? Yuan Chu touched his stomach and walked back. And from time to time, there was a flash of red light on him. The realm climbs all the way up. In the end, it was only after the Yuan infant that the cheetah perfection stopped. Then he became what he was. Just listen to the bang and go up to the out-of-body realm. He was satisfied. A lovely smile on his face. Although it is said that the divine soul is a great tonic for him. But Yuan Chu still decided to do less of this kind of thing in the future. After all, devouring people's souls and causes. It's no different from cannibalism. And it will leave hidden dangers. If you don't want to go crazy, he's going to have to be obedient in the future. Then he looked at his smooth left hand. Sighed. He was forced to do this. Tianju Nii Yi Chen Yuan woke up a little strange. I don't know how he fell asleep all of a sudden, but I saw that the master was also sleeping beside him. I was relieved. After a closer look, it was found that his physical condition had also returned to its peak. It's more reassuring. I can't help but reach out and touch it when I look at it. The cute face of the master. The sleeping circle feels harassed. As soon as his neck shrunk, he hid under the covers. Yi Qinyuan was directly cute. Simba is reluctant to wake him up. Just quietly accompanied him. When Yuan Chu woke up, Yi Qinyuan is no longer around. A note appeared out of thin air on the brain. Yi Qinyuan wrote where he went, and gave him a hot meal. On the table, the intimate care made Yuan Chu can't help but complain. Look, look, look. It's not too naive. Who told someone to spoil him as a baby? Tingzi wants to say, I also want someone to spoil me like this. That's when it happened. Yuan Chu sensed that something was wrong. The clothes on his body seemed to be much smaller, but he didn't care. Ching turned around and conjured up new clothes to put on, and then farts to eat the love bento made by Yi Qinyuan. Inside the dean's office, the dean is letting Yi Qinyuan explanation of falsified information. And what is the identity of his fiancée? Yi Qinyuan also told the truth. The purpose of this time is to find a gentleman, and his fiancée is his immortal mentor. The word gentleman touched the dean, stared at Yi Qinyuan and asked what his background was. And let Yi Qinyuan say it. He might be able to help. The dean's reaction made Yi Qinyuan a little vigilant. It's better to be cautious about this kind of wide-ranging matter. So he just told the dean that he had found it. The dean saw that he was reluctant to speak. I wanted to exchange with him, who was the master behind Zhao Lao, and assured him that he would be a student of the academy for just one day, and protected him for a day. His words made Yi Qinyuan's vigilance relax a little, but he didn't answer. Instead, he first asked the dean why he had left the college all these years. The dean is helpless, and the young people are really difficult to deal with now. And he has actually gone to find the prince in the past few years. The crown prince was what he grew up seeing. He already regarded him in his heart. Became his own child. Yi Qinyuan smiled when he heard this. Finally let down my guard. He also told him that he was the eldest grandson of the emperor. The store manager's pupil shrank sharply. He thought about a lot of possibilities. But I didn't think of this. I couldn't help but ask him if he was sure. Yi Qinyuan was unsure before the snot on his back, but last night it was determined. The boy was originally the most honorable eldest grandson of the emperor, but he fills his stomach by eating weeds every day, the glory and wealth that originally belonged to him. But it was seized by an impostor. Now Yi Qinyuan came to the academy to find clues. The dean told him. The one who really wanted to kill him was the queen. Yi Qinyuan was very puzzled. Because the queen was his grandmother. Why did you want to put him to death? The dean saw what was going on his mind. I couldn't help but sigh. It turns out that the current queen is not the original match of the monarch. It's the favored concubine who straightens it. The reason for killing him is also very simple. Because he loves Yi Qinyuan's father. And so it goes. Yi Qinyuan figured it out. It's love and not love. I felt remorse. After coming out of the dean also gave him the privilege of reselecting a room. Took Yuan Chu to choose a new residence. Yuan Chu fell in love with this place at first sight. Push open the window. It's full of all kinds of flowers and sunlight. It's a great feeling. Yi Qinyuan was also very happy to see that master liked it. So I asked him in a bad way. Shouldn't I tell him about my left hand? There was a clear stiffness in his speech. What should have come is still coming. Then he said very angrily that I had conquered him. Yi Qinyuan looked at him with suspicion written on his face. Yuan Chu told him proudly. In his hands is the mother of 10,000 roots of the bloodthirsty deadwood. At that time, Emperor Run wanted to exterminate the bloodthirsty deadwood. The mother of 10,000 roots knew that she would not be able to escape the fate of being killed. He used a secret method to turn himself into a mutated seed. Lingji also fell into a deep sleep. Last night, I used all my spiritual power to wake him up, and he saw my weak and imposing talent. Serve me as Lord. Yi Qinyuan still expressed doubts. He doesn't believe it's that simple. If you use spiritual power, you can break away the spiritual will. Then this deadwood will not be controlled by people before. If Yuan Chu is willing, He'll be sure to help him kill the bloodthirsty Deadwood. Yuan Chu heard this. I want to blow up my hair instantly. Are you kidding? Swallowed half of his soul. It's okay to kill it like that. Just when Yi Qinyuan still wanted to persuade him, a paper crane appears out of thin air between the two, and brought back a drop of the blood of the children of the Yi family. This is the beginning of the Yuan to see that imposter is not the Yi family. And get it, Yuan Chu separated the imposter's blood a little, and the blood of the Yi family's children are combined. Who would have thought that 2 drops of blood would be combined? Yuan Chu couldn't help but sigh. It's terrible that this imposter is really the Yi family. At the beginning of the Yuan, I heard that the Yi family used to be the guard of the royal family. Think they stole the kids. Only then did he resign from his post and hide in a third-class country. Yi Qingyuan doesn't think so. The guards can steal the child from the prince. After all, the crown prince is not an ordinary person. It was in the middle of the discussion between the two. Yi Qingyuan discovered something new. His dwarf melon master seems to have grown a little taller, and it grew more than an inch taller overnight. Words were taken aback, although he didn't feel anything. But Obuchi must be right when he says so. And he realized. The sudden growth in height is estimated to be the reason for eating Xiaolao. But that can't be said. So he quickly changed the subject. There is no need to go to class today. Yi Qinyuan should be going to the Su family. Yi Qinyuan nodded when he heard this. He also said that he would come back later tonight. Yuan Chu couldn't help but feel a little lost. That is, there is no story to listen to at night. Yi Qinyuan saw this, petting his little brain melon dotingly. Reassure him that he will come back soon. Yuan Chu smiled sweetly when he heard it, then forgive you. Seeing that he was finally gone, Yuan Chu couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. That's it. But we can't let up yet. Today is a special day. Xiao Yuanyuan's 18th birthday. Be sure to give him an unforgettable surprise. But living together for so long, Yuan Chu discovered. I don't seem to know what he likes. I only eat what I eat when I'm with him. There is no shortage of artifacts and ammunition. Yuan Chu went crazy. The brain of the thought is buzzing. Suddenly, a flash of inspiration flashed in the distance. He's a modern man. Those cliched ways to celebrate birthdays. It's very unique to put it here. Vulgar is a little vulgar. Is the ammunition the mind? Just do it. On the other side, in the Su house, Yi Qinyuan met with the head of the Su family, the head of the Mu family. The two heads of the family learned. Everything was done by the emperor's eldest grandson. All very angry. The 1-meter-8 man likes to play with dolls. If you don't kiss for a day, you will feel uncomfortable. Just now, when Yi Qinyuan came back, he found that it was only one afternoon. The house is overgrown with glowing mushrooms. 2 beautiful butterflies came by with a note. Yi Qinyuan stretched out his hand suspiciously to take it. It is written one by one that you like this scene. Yi Qinyuan couldn't help but laugh. Understood that it was done by his eccentric master. And between the 2 rooms of him and the primordial, there are also 2 glowing words written that there is a surprise in a room. There are demons in one room. If it's usual, he must not have even thought about it. So he chose the original room to go in. But the devil sent God to choose his own room. As soon as the door opened, the forest flowers flying in the sky circled around him. There is a beautifully wrapped gift box on the table. Yi Qinyuan became more and more curious about what the master wanted to do. So I couldn't wait to uncover the box. When he saw inside, I couldn't help but widen my eyes. I saw that only the palm of the hand was rounded. Stand next to a bowl of noodles, holding his hands reluctantly, chopsticks that are much taller than others, jumping and jumping with all his might. Happy birthday to the milky voice. I really can't think of anything to send my apprentice. I'll give you a bowl of longevity noodles. Don't dislike me. As soon as he finished speaking, he almost fell because he couldn't stand on his feet. Yi Qingyuan hurriedly held him with his fingers. Take the chopsticks from his hand. Hold the little Yuan Chu in the palm of your hand. In the early Yuan stunned. was held to his lips like a treasure by Yi Qinyuan. A kiss of rest. Yi Qinyuan's voice was a little choked, and he said thank you. His sudden surprise made him feel sweet. This feeling. Let him want to put this little thing. It's good to integrate into your own blood and bones. Yuan Chu was moved to see him like this. That means he likes the surprise he has prepared for him. So I was arrogant again. Humph, I know what I've prepared. How could Madoka not like it? Yi Qinyuan was extremely cute by his little expression. It's budding. Shinba couldn't help but reach out and tap his little brain. And he stumbled again. It's really fun to be so small at the beginning of the yuan. Yi Qinyuan smiled and narrowed his eyes. Ask him if he made it so small to play with him. Yuan Chu's hairstyle that was tossed by his fingers was messed up. Hands hurriedly waved him back. Yi Qinyuan was not allowed to play anymore. As everyone knows, he will only make people want to bully him even more. Yuan Chu wanted to cry without tears. He wasn't afraid that his deity was there. It made Yi Qinyuan feel restrained, only to get smaller. Who knew that after becoming smaller, Yi Qinyuan was no longer restrained. But he was also too presumptuous. But forgive him for his birthday. Thinking about it, suddenly I remembered my own face. Oops, for so long. The noodles must have become mushy. That's a dozen bowls he made. It's the pinnacle of completion. Sure enough. The original well-rooted noodles are early. The soup has been soaked into a batter. Yuan Chu wanted to see it. Yi Qinyuan blocked his sight and didn't let him look. In order not to discourage him, gently comforting him, he is not yet confused. This is the birthday noodles he made especially for him. Whatever it is, he'll eat it all right. Yuan Chu didn't believe it. Use the strength to feed. Finally broke free from Yi Qinyuan's hands. Hop on the table. Dad Acta ran to the edge of the big bowl. Probed to take a look. I found out that it was really mushy. Yi Qinyuan looked at him. Cannot help laughing. Lift him up. Gently set aside. While holding chopsticks, he continued to eat noodles. It's okay. The chef is still delicious. Madoka was annoyed at first. It was originally in his plan. It should be Yi Qinyuan who opened the box happily. Cute. He handed the chopsticks with both hands. Then he feasted on it. The best bowl of longevity noodles he ever made. Yuan Chu saw that he was going to finish eating. Don't get tangled up anymore. So remind him that you haven't made a wish yet. Birthday wishes are very effective. Don't waste this opportunity. Yi Qinyuan nodded. He drank the last drop of soup. His eyes were full of tenderness, and he glanced at Yuan Chu deeply. Then the hands of the pious are folded. Close your eyes. He only wants to be with him forever, until they grow old together. See him make a good wish. Yuan Chu asked him, do you know what's in the room where the demon is written? Yi Qinyuan shook his head honestly. It's not like he hasn't had time to look yet. Yuan Chu jumped off the table. All at once, it became the original size. Also wore a limited edition dress made especially for Yi Qinyuan. And then, with a harmless face, he invited Yi Qinyuan to take a look together. The two of them came to the door of his room. Yuan Chu playfully asked Yi Qinyuan to open the door. The master's words must be listened to without a brain. So Yi Qinyuan obediently reached out to open the door. A pitch-black claw. Suddenly it came out of it. Yi Qinyuan hadn't reacted yet. What is that? Was dragged in. Yuan Chu suddenly smiled evilly. Enjoy the demon's hospitality. But he wasn't done yet. Was suddenly grabbed by Yi Qinyuan by the collar. Dragged it in together. Yuan let out a scream. It's a magical monster. I like to eat small mushrooms on people's bodies the most. After eating, they will give each other their own treasures. But if you don't have mushrooms on you, the little claws of the lazy beast, it will always touch you, until you find something satisfying. At this time, Yuan Chu and Yi Qinyuan. I was surrounded by a room full of lazy beasts. The fur on the sloth. Yuan Chu's tears flowed out. Yuan Chu was extremely depressed. He remembered that Yi Qinyuan was very afraid of itching. And he's certainly not going to bring in little mushrooms. That way he can watch him being bullied by the lazy beast. who knew that this man was broken. I actually pulled him in. Yi Chen is very afraid of itching. But now he is holding Yuan Chu. I just felt like my whole heart was filled. The smile is unusually bright. He teased the little villain in his arms who made a bad but didn't succeed. Now it's all right. We can't get out. Yuan Chu was almost angry. I thought he wouldn't be able to stand it anymore. He was still outside with a little mushroom and came in to save him. Now they're all trapped. How else to get out? Yi Chen doted on the puffing master. Don't be offended. As long as they are sure that we have nothing to eat. Naturally, I gave up. I didn't want to. When he is about to die, he will be rushed to death by this group of black fat people. So I wanted to release coercion. Let them be honest. Yi Chen hurriedly stopped him. It is said that there are rules in this world that do not hurt the lazy beast. However, this is only an excuse. He just wanted to hug him one more time. Yuan Chu deflated his mouth. Then he opened the door. It always became a scar. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. The bun of the little mushroom seems to float up. Just open the door and let them smell it. We'll go out. Next second door was pushed away by Yuan Chu with spiritual power. Sure enough, a little silver starlight floated up from downstairs. The lazy beasts were excited. Then Hula poured out of the room to find mushrooms to eat. Yuan Chu found it interesting. Withdrew from Yi Chen arms. Hurriedly chased after it to see. Yi Chen looked at the empty hand. I can't help but feel a little lost. I want to hug him again. But seeing Yuan Chu was happy to see it. I thought he was happy. It's very satisfying. Yuan Chu ran over and grabbed him who was stunned. Excitedly going to collect gifts from the lazy beast. The well-fed and well-fed sloth's lazy beast lay in a room. Yuan Chu was dumbfounded. This group of foodies. Just as he was complaining, a lazy beast in front of Yi Chen. A small flower appeared on his hand. Yuan Chu was so happy. Serve the Yuan flower. Quickly accept this. You can repair the soul of Li Lao. Yuan Chu came to the second lazy beast. When the beast was full, it became sleepy. Yuan Chu couldn't help but poke him. He took out a small piece of blue stone. Yuan Chu held the treasures he had collected. Laughing cutely. Said that today is Yi Chen birthday. I won't be 3 or 7 points with him. Who called him the best teacher? Yi Chen looked at him with gentle eyes. It's like looking at the best treasure in the world. Eventually, they walked up to the biggest of the blue beasts. He tilted his head to look at the 2 people in front of him. I thought about it tangledly. Then he took out 2 fruits. The 2 were stunned. Not every blue beast. Only 1 gift will be given at a time. Yi Chen took the fruit. Sniff it gently. The aroma of the wine comes with a sweet taste. Suddenly he knew what it was. It is a pregnancy fruit that can conceive 100%. I didn't know what it was. Curiously asked Yi Chen. Yi Chen didn't dare to tell him. Training has long been read into monkey ass. It can only be said that he doesn't know either. The simple original has not been further explored. I just said that the old man woke up and asked the force. Always be a good thing. Just one by one with him. Yi Chen was embarrassed. It's useless for him to eat this thing. Finish it all. Yuan Chu was also a little tired. He turned around and said he was going back to sleep. Yi Chen was reluctant to part with him. So he said he wanted to tell him a story. Yuan Chu felt that his eyelids were fighting. You don't need a story to sleep soundly tonight. At this time, Yi Chen heart was itching. Where to sleep? He just wanted to look at him. I wish he was within reach of him. Yuan Chu thought. He should have received a birthday surprise for the first time. So it's a little exciting. For his sake, today is his birthday. He reluctantly agreed. That's what the book says. But I haven't heard Yi Chen say a few words. He was already asleep. Yi Chen could only carry him to the bed. The defenseless, cute sleeping face looked at Yi Chen obsessed. He was indeed a little emotional today. And it's hard to help yourself. I can have him by my side. Really satisfying. But soon, a deeper dissatisfaction welled up. I know that I can't read it, I can't think about it, I can't say it. but he still couldn't suppress it. The love that grows madly in my heart. 2 months later, Yi Qinyuan was returning to his residence. Was blocked by Gu Qingbari. Yi Qinyuan raised his eyebrows slightly. You have something. The indifferent appearance made Gu Qingli very aggrieved. This man should have been his. It's all to blame on that damn brother mooching. But this time it must make a fool of that vixen. Hold back the jealousy in your heart. Hand the invitation to Yi Qinyuan. Yi Qinyuan didn't pick it up. Instead, he looked at him with raised eyebrows. The gaze seemed to be stressed. Staring at Gu Qingka became more and more empty. Tell Yi Qinyuan head-on. This is the invitation to his engagement banquet with Huang Changsun. Let him definitely go. It's like the friendship that came before. Yi Qinyuan narrowed his eyes. Sure enough, after Zhao Lao died, Yi Tianqiu was even more uneasy. I thought about it directly. At this, Yi Qinyuan accepted the invitation with a smile and promised to go to the appointment. After saying that, he turned around and left. I thought that the master must be very happy when he found out. He's finished again. Look at his back without the slightest stop. Gu Qingli was directly laughed at. Since I can't get it, then no one else can think of it. Wait, I'll let you know. At the beginning, I refused to choose Muchinga. What a stupid decision. Huang Changsun is going to be a demon again. Yuan Chu suddenly became excited. In a hurry, he was going to pull Yi Qinyuan to do something. Yi Qinyuan hurriedly told him to calm down. The wedding is still a few months away. The time of the invitation, just before the opening of the divine realm. As he expected, Yi Tianqiu wanted to exchange blood with him before entering the secret realm. That's when it happened. A paper crane note appears out of thin air. Yuan Chu suddenly perked up. This is a letter from the uncle. The letter left a message that the Xianmin competition is about to begin. He wanted to return to the sect to lead the team within a month of the beginning of the Yuan dynasty. Yuan Chu raised his eyebrows slightly. He remembered his last life. Yi Qinyuan stood out in this competition, but now after his training as a good teacher, his current cultivation, it's much higher than at the same time in my previous life. It's also miserable. As soon as I heard that the head asked Yuan Chu to go back, Yi Qinyuan was a little reluctant. The simple Yuan Chu thought that he was just reluctant. He promised to return before the Excalibur realm opened. Yi Qinyuan frowned. He didn't want Yuan Chu to leave him for so long, because the engagement banquet opens before the secret realm. Yuan Chu thought about it. That's right. So he hurriedly changed his mouth. Then I will definitely come back before the fake Wadingqing. Yi Qinyuan was still unhappy. He wanted to go back with him to meet the master. Yuan Chu said while collecting things, there are too many demons here, so that he should stay in town. And he'll be back soon. Yi Qinyuan didn't expect Yuan Chu to listen to the words of the head so much. Originally, he thought that Yuan Chu would be a coquettish and cute. Mess this errand with that. After all, he is such a trouble-prone person. As everyone knows, in the previous life, he originally cultivated magic skills. I almost went mad. After being caught, the mayors have abandoned the beliefs he had always held. Principal opened the dungeon and released him before he was interrogated. It also took half of his power to help him purify the source, so that he will not go mad. Uncle loved him from the bottom of his heart, even if he is the head of decency, still willing to do anything for him. So relive a lifetime. For this uncle, he still values it. Also explained that Yi Qinyuan would also honor him in the future. This time I went back, just to let the head of the family see his cultivation. Surprise me. Because there is space. The things were put away at once. Yuan Chu said goodbye to Yi Qinyuan. Yi Qinyuan looked at him in such a hurry. Reached out and grabbed him. Wanted him to stay one more day. He had to prepare what he could eat for the road. I thought that Yuan Chu was going to go for 3 months. He was extremely reluctant. After thinking about it, I decided to go back with him. Yuan Chu was helpless. He's 14 years old. It's not a child. Are you still afraid that he will get lost? Yi Qinyuan took a deep breath. He found that he was now more and more unable to restrain himself. I have feelings for Yuan Chu. I could only silently take out a lot of delicious stuff and stuff it for him. Yuan Chu's eyes widened on the side. He didn't even know. Yi Chen Yuan actually made so many delicious foods behind his back. Now he really has more and more potential to be a daddy. If it weren't for that overly youthful face. Yuan Chu felt that he had an extra father. Yuan Chu, in order to hurry up, directly went to the heavens and opened the state. See him go simply. Although it was in a hurry, Yi Chen Yuan was still a little uncomfortable in his heart. I can't help but wonder if I'm too clingy to him. It gave him the idea of getting rid of him and playing alone. Think about it this way. Yi Chen Yuan was even more uncomfortable. Talent just left. He started thinking about him. How to spend these 3 months. The bored Yuan Chu in the ark pondered. Why would my uncle be in such a hurry to ask him to go back? Can't think of why. He planned to settle down and cultivate hard. As a result, his ark was hit by something. Yuan Chu suddenly became a little angry. It's rare for him to meditate once. Without even thinking about it, he rushed out of the room. It's the one who doesn't have long eyes to get in the way. The next second, he was stunned. At this time at sea, a sea monster as tall as a mountain bared its teeth and claws at him. Stunned in the distance. I wouldn't fall like that. Any roadblock monster is a tier 7 monster. But even if the realm is as powerful as him, his fists are not vegetarian either. Just as he was gearing up for a showdown, a chuckle came from the sea monster. Yuan Chu fixed his eyes and took a look, only to find that there was a person rolling around the sea monster's tentacles. After Yuan Chu saw who it was, suddenly shocked, hurriedly turned around and walked away quickly. From time to time, I look back. I wouldn't fall like that. It's all happening. Don't come with that plague god. He drove the speed of Tianzhou to the extreme. I found that the plague god did not chase after him. Only then did I breathe a sigh of relief. Suddenly, he noticed something behind him. The man has a peerlessly handsome face. It was supposed to fascinate thousands of girls. It almost scared the girl out of a heart attack. It's no wonder that the original reaction was so big. His magic skills. It was this guy who forced him to learn in his previous life. So he never wanted to be with this dead pervert again. There is any intersection too. Jun Lu Yang raised his eyebrows slightly. I haven't seen it before, but he felt that Yuan Chu was very familiar with him. And when they saw him, they ran. It made him think he had met an old acquaintance. Specially came to catch up on the old days. Yuan Chu hurriedly said solemnly. The two have definitely never met. So there's nothing to reminisce about. I only wish this big guy, able to get out of his boat quickly. I don't know that the more he is like this, the more interesting the man finds it. Yuan Chu saw that he was indifferent. Hurriedly took out the token of the sect to identify himself. I hope he sees that he is a member of the 10,000 Swords sect. Don't do anything to him. How cute that dignified little face looks. Provoked men to tease her even more. She suddenly leaned softly closer to the folding fan in her hand. Slightly raised round chin. The more I look, the more satisfied I become. Not only cute, and the talent is outstanding. He was only in his tens. It's the out-of-body path. This is a wizard she has not seen in more than 400 years of life. Thinking of this, the man's eyes narrowed slightly. You have a secret in your little thing. Her tone was full of interest. Made Yuan Chu suddenly have goosebumps all over his body. Who will throw this great devil from his ship? The man's eyes grew brighter as he looked at him. It's like finding some interesting toy. Suddenly, he threw the fan away. Grabbed Yuan Chu's hand. Yuan Chu was shocked. It's too late to take it back. The next second, Jun Lu Yang opened his mouth and explained with a smile. Why is the Lord of the Orthodox Immortal Gate? What I cultivated was the top forbidden technique of my demon sect. If you can. Yuan Chu really wanted to scratch his handsome face that was close at hand. He can forbid magic. He didn't force it. It was like that in my previous life. This guy looks at his bones clearly. Just arrest him. Forced him to learn the top and most difficult forbidden art of the demon gate. Reiki and demonic chi cannot be practiced at all. But this guy is a lunatic. He thinks that those people can't be initiates. It's because they're all too weak. And he would have been hundreds of years old. At this time, it is impossible to want immortal and demon fellow practitioners. So he set his sights on Yuan Chu. Let him be his 1000th test subject. At that time, he was weak and helpless, and he was caught. There was no choice but to be forced to practice demonic skills. He was dying at that time, but I don't know if it's a physical problem. He didn't die in the end, and it really made him practice immortal and demonic cultivation. Seeing that Yuan Chu refused to answer, Jun Luyang grabbed his hand and pressed slightly. Just listen to a click. At the beginning of the year, the bones of the wrist were broken. Yuan Chu suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. The body that was out of the sheath was in Jun Luyang's hands. It's as fragile as a porcelain doll. Don't answer obediently. The next one to break is your neck. Heroes don't suffer immediate losses. He endured it and thought about it. I know how to do magic skills. It's because I was forced to get a demon inheritance. How did I know that he was the top forbidden art of the demon race? All I knew was that I was dying. But it didn't die. Later, I found out that I could do magic. Jun Luyang was very excited when he heard this. Therefore, this little thing is now an immortal and demon initiate. He had been thinking about it before. Immortal and demon initiates should be feasible. But before he could put it into action, he came across a ready-made one. And he didn't seem to be out of place. It was just perfect. Yin Ji thought coldly. Of course, there was nothing wrong with him, because he adapted to the immortal and demon initiates in his previous life. But this magic combination is something he has spent countless hours on. It took half of the uncle's skill to get it. So he would never tell the devil. The trick is to struggle and threaten. If a man dares to do something to him, the 10,000 Swords sect would not let him go. In the next second, Jun Luyang really put him down. But he just thinks. Little things like him. It's a pity to kill. However, if the 10,000 Swords sect finds out that he cultivates demons, isn't it going to be interesting? Yin Yin was nervous for a while, but soon calmed down. Spirituality and demonism are not in an adversarial relationship. The common enemy of all. It's the crooked ways of those demons who do all kinds of evil. There are also dangerous elements who can't control their own magic palace. And now he has complete control over the demon palace. Even if Jun Luyang tells his secret, the righteous will stare at him, but it won't move. See below, not at the beginning of the Yuan. Jun Luyang was a little regretful, but he liked the little thing even more. So Jun Luyang decided to tie Yuan Chu back to weekends. The man has a peerlessly handsome face, but he couldn't find his wife. Actually blackmailed a 14-year-old girl to give him 100 babies. From afar, they looked at him like a monster. You cultivate demons, and I am only half cultivators. I just need to spend some aura on weekends. You're dead. The coherent words made Jun Luyang squint. It's been a long time since anyone dared to threaten him. But the more others don't allow it, the more he wanted to do it. So this little thing is set for him. Jun Luyang quickly bowed his head. I wanted to kiss him on the lips. Yuan Chu was suddenly furious. He turned his head sideways. Then a punch was struck. How dare this bastard take advantage of him? Give a little color and open a dying shop. His fists are not vegetarian. His murderous appearance. Let Jun Luyang's eyes brighten. He really wanted to marry him. After all, he smells so good. It should also taste good. At the beginning of the year, he only felt a chill. It's shameless that he looks so small. This thing can actually have that dirty mind. Sure enough, a pervert is a pervert. The more I think about it, the more angry I become. Directly use the weapon bliss light. The light of bliss is the most lethal to the demons. He can corrupt demonic energy, even the body of the demons. Jun Luyang, who noticed this, hurriedly retreated. From the beginning, and he found out. The exercises cultivated at the beginning of the Yuan dynasty were able to restrain the demonic skills. This is now even more certain. Although the martial arts of the early Yuan are the nemesis of the demon race. But there is a gap in the realm, still made him unable to break through Jun Lu Yang's defenses. I saw Jun Lu Yang wave his fan, and he dispersed his martial arts. The demonic energy gushing out of his body controlled Yuan Chu. Reach out and grab him. Yuan Chu died of resignation. If he dares to touch himself, it's like he dies and the net is broken. His fierce words made Jun Lu Yang laugh even worse. It's a little guy. Why is the anger so big? It's too late to hurt him. How can you be willing to hurt him? Yuan Chu didn't know what this pervert wanted. They all said that he was not cute. It's not funny either. Jun Lu Yang said that he was too modest. Usually those people saw him either scared or attentive. Only Yuan Chu is as vivid and interesting. If you marry her, your life will definitely be colorful. Jun Lu Yang decided to immediately send someone to the 10,000 Sword sect to lower the product. Yuan Chu's eyes widened when he heard this. This is no different from child trafficking. In order to make Yuan Chu more self-contained, Jun Lu Yang wanted to be on the soul of Yuan Chu first. Leave his mark. Yuan Chu wanted to resist. But no. Once left a divine soul imprint. Then if others want to have a holiday with him, they can't either. Unless his mark can be erased. Soon he felt his soul being pulled out. The difference in realms. He was powerless to resist. I could only watch my soul being withdrawn. Jun Lu Yang's eyes were subtle when he looked at the original. I saw the original spirit. It has long been branded. The little girl is hidden deep enough. You've been with people since you were so young. After Yuan Chu listened to his words. I can't wait to bite him to death. What nonsense this man is saying. He hadn't touched a man in his life. How could it be a 2-day holiday? Jun Lu Yang saw his angry look. It's not like the reason for being taken away. The suspicion is that someone is without his knowledge. I have cultivated with him. Jun Lu Yang's words made Yuan Chu puzzled. Could it be that his soul really has a double rest with people? The first thing that came to mind at the beginning of Yuan Chu was Yi Chen Yuan, because the man beside him has always been only Yi Chen Yuan. But soon he dismissed the idea. With Yi Chen Yuan's cultivation, even if he has a lot of special means now, I don't know if I want to be a ghost. I felt that it was still impossible to double cultivate with him. It must be this big. The pervert is licking him. All Lu Yang evil hooked lips. Since he didn't know who left this mark, then he will be a good man. Erase it. If you can't erase it, you still have to do double cultivation. It will be discovered by the person who made the mark. That person can use the sigil to get out of it. Let's have 2 people who are taking a double holiday. They were all horribly wounded. Just the moment the mark disappeared. Yi Chen Yuan, who was thousands of miles away, suddenly felt it. As he was in class, he jerked to his feet, ignoring the teacher's shouts. Rush out of the classroom quickly. He knew his mark was erased. It also means that some people want to have a weekend with the master. He's in danger. Yi Chen Yuan, who was in the academy, also sensed something. From the beginning, I've been restless in my heart. This sudden feeling of heart palpitations. It also made Yi Chen Yuan feel that something must have happened to the master. The spirit that has always been connected to himself and his master. It seems to have been cut off suddenly. Yi Chen Yuan, who felt that something had happened to his master. The next second, he disappeared directly from the classroom. Also completely ignored the shouts of the teacher behind him. And at this time, the heavens are in the open state. Look at the mark that has been erased by yourself. Jun Lu Yang smiled with satisfaction. Now I will give you a new seal, lest you be remembered by others. Yuan Chu was when Jun Lu Yang eliminated the mark just now, and he didn't move. It seems that something is brewing. Seeing Jun Lu Yang is about to be on his soul. I made a mark. Then he took a deep breath, whispered that you brought it on yourself. The next second, he made a deal with bloodthirsty deadwood again. A dozen bloodthirsty dead trees wrapped in blissful light. Chao Jun Lu Yang stabbed straight over. In an instant, it pierced through his body. Jun Lu Yang felt the pain coming from his body. It's incredible. looked at Yuan Shu in a daze. It seems that he didn't expect him to hurt himself, and it is because of this acceptance hurt the soul that Yuan Shu was originally dragged out, successfully returned to its place. See that your attack succeeded, and the spirit is back in the body. Yuan Shu had a terrible smile on his face. Now you know how good I am. When you see me later, remember to stay away, because I'll see you one at a time and hit you once. Jun Lu Yang looked at Yuan Shu like this. I finally understood how he had hurt himself. He actually used a weapon that could corrode demonic energy. It was attached to dead wood. Don't wait for Jun Lu Yang to think about it for a while. Yuan Shu couldn't wait for a kick. Take this plague god. Kicked off his own boat. Jun Lu Yang at this time. Because to resist, the light of bliss scurrying around in the body. I can only watch myself. Free fall from mid-air. Although the beginning of the Yuan dynasty put Jun Lu Yang from the heavens to open the state, I invited it out, but there was still no happy look on his face. He knew that the other party would not hang up so easily. Then he pouted unwillingly. Although the other party was careless, next to his own thump. But that doesn't mean you can kill the other party right now. But on second thought. Anyway, he got him off his boat. I invited it out. As long as I enter the 10,000 Swords sect, Jun Lu Yang didn't dare to come. And even if I go to the Empire in the future, it is also Mu Chinga's face and identity that are used. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. Yuan Shu comforted himself on the side. On the one hand, the speed of the heavenly boat was increased to the extreme, leaving this ominous place. And the Junlu sheep who was still in free fall in midair just now. After a while, it slammed into the ground. And his powerful aura, a living creature that directly moves around it, all ran away without a trace. Look at the horizon that is about to escape from itself, hidden as the vision of the heavenly open state. Jun Lu Yang's eyes were about to burst into flames, but his face still showed such as, laughing like a sick person. What a little guy covered in. I dare to run if I get hurt. Very good 10,000 Swords sect. Yes, I remember. On the same day, Fang Kaizhou opened for a long time. Yuan Shu dared to stand on the bow of the ship and look at the situation outside. There are still some worries in my heart. I'm afraid of the next second. Jun Lu Yang appeared in front of him again. But think about it again. Although his own move will not be fatal, but let him lie down for 10 days. 8 days should be no problem. He probably won't be catching up anytime soon. Think about it this way. It made Yuan Shu feel a lot more relieved. But there was still a doubt that had been hovering in my mind for a long time. Who the hell is it? I don't know. The ghost has left a spiritual mark on me. But Yuan Shu didn't think about it for long. Heaven is once again extremely abnormal. It shook violently. Although I thought it in my heart before, Jun Lu Yang will not catch up in a short time. But Yuan Shu will still have some cup bow snake shadows. Hurriedly turned his head to look behind him. Scenes you want to see. It won't be what you think it is. The person who appeared behind him stunned the place for a moment. Although not Jun Lu Yang, how could it be Abichibiki? It took me several days to get from the academy to Africa. Obuchi is alone. How did you catch up with yourself so quickly? Yi Qinyuan saw the master who was safe and sound in front of him. The tight string in my heart also loosened. Can be due to the contraindication of use. Plus a few days without eating or drinking. His body had reached its limit. As soon as it falls to the heavens, it opens weakly. The whole person was directly detached. I can't stand on my feet. I first saw the little apprentice like this. Straight from the original surprise to shock. What happened to you? Yi Qinyuan completely ignored his physical state at this time. Eagerly asked the master, "Are you okay with that? Have you met anyone along the way? Have you ever been bullied?" Yuan Chu heard Yi Qinyuan ask. It's also inexplicable. Then he asked strangely, "How do you know the people I meet?" And the next second, Yuan Chu suddenly thought of something. Eyes widened. A look of disbelief. Could it be that the double cultivation mark on my soul is really you? Yi Qinyuan was asked by Yuan Chu. What was originally worried turned into panic in an instant. He replied tremblingly, "Yes, it's my double cultivation." "Then explain why you know." "Something happened to the master. I feel it. The connection between me and my master's previous spirit was severed. I'm worried that something will happen to my master. So I rushed over." And at this time, Yi Qinyuan's explanation could not be heard. The little fist swung straight up. While fighting back, he said angrily and said that it wasn't you. "Hurry up and be honest. When the hell are you? Secretly leaving a mark on my soul." Part of Yi Qinyuan's memory. It was sealed before. And of course that too. Then, no matter how Yi Qinyuan thought about this in his mind, none of them could find any information about him. Then he said with an aggrieved face that I don't remember. Yuan Chu didn't care about that now. One after another, they chased and fought fiercely behind Yi Qinyuan. And Yi Qinyuan's eyes suddenly lit up. Something seems to have come to mind. Then he hurriedly turned around and appeased the master. Pei smiled and said, "Master, don't be angry. I don't have much of an impression of him, though. But when I came out of the Phoenix's nest secret realm before, something doesn't feel right. It must have been back then. At the beginning of the Yuan, I heard Yi Qinyuan talk about the secret realm of Fengchuobo. I can't remember when it happened. But when the memory continues to deepen." Yuan Chu's little face suddenly turned red. At the same time, he exclaimed loudly, "I seem to remember something." Yuan Chu thought about his time in the Feng dynasty. "The only thing that impresses me, it's just that I had a spring dream." "Isn't that a dream?" "And after that dream, my soul is about to break. It turned out to be inexplicably better. I wasn't going to mend my soul at that time. I've already started to make up for small grievances. No, I'm so now. Oh my God, I'm guilty." The more Yuan Chu thought about it, the more excited he became. His whole body trembled uncontrollably. This anomalous behavior. Yi Qinyuan on the side looked uncertain. Yuan Chu found out at this time. There seems to be something unusual about it. He asked Xiao Yuanyuan, "Wasn't you in the secret realm at that time? How did it come out?" Yi Qinyuan fell silent when he saw this. He didn't know how to explain it to his master. Then Yi Qinyuan took a deep breath. Then the topic began to change. Who erased the master's mark? And the source was immediately changed from the topic without accident. And it was not concealed that it was said truthfully. He is the demon lord of the demon realm. Yi Qinyuan heard the word demon lord. His eyes suddenly sharpened, hurriedly reconfirmed. It's the one who isn't in the demon palace all year round. The demon lord who likes to run around the most. Yuan Chu nodded. Then he said lightly, "He wanted to leave a mark on my soul. But I was seriously injured with bloodthirsty deadwood. That's why it didn't succeed." Although Yuan Chu said it so easily. But Yi Qinyuan could also think of the danger. The fist beside him couldn't help but clench. At the same time, the word Demon King also got on the death list in Yi Qinyuan's heart. But that was for later. And yourself now in front of you. There's exactly one thing that needs to be done. Then Yi Qinyuan looked at Yuan Chu with a nervous expression. His face was also dyed crimson because of what he was going to do next. Nervous, though, but the tone of his voice still keeps him calm. "Master, would you like me to make a new mark?" Yuan Chu listened to it. I was stunned for a few seconds. Followed by, "It's just looking at this one in front of him in disbelief." And again the following rebels. "You're going to have a break with me." Yi Qinyuan looked at him and trembled, shrunk into a ball, like a little poor master. Explained in a panic. "No, it's not a weekend. It's just a matter of making a new mark." Then he explained it with a serious face. "Gave yourself a good reason. Master, once your physique is discovered by others, driven by greed and human nature, those people may not be able to count on you. What a terrible thing to do. Leave a mark. Let me know how you're doing, too." The more Yi Qinyuan spoke, the quieter he became. That delicate face also became redder and redder the more he spoke. After all, Yi Qinyuan's last experience had been sealed. Now it's like an innocent virgin. The first time I scolded nervously, that's normal. But Yi Qinyuan was in his heart. Don't forget to cheer yourself on. Although the last imprint is what happened. I don't know if I did it. But you still have to keep one more yourself to feel at ease. Yuan Shu looked at the little apprentice like this. I couldn't help but reflect in my heart. Could it be that I, as a master, always have accidents? That's why the little apprentice is so uneasy. But then I thought about it. Anyway, I'm not going to look for a husband in my life. Let the apprentice brother leave another mark. It doesn't seem like anything. With this idea, Yuan Shu was not so resistant for a while. Then some kind of decision was made. Seriously, he said, well, you can stay if you want. Yi Qinyuan heard Yuan Shu say this. His eyes lit up slightly. I can't believe what I'm hearing. It seems that Master doesn't hate this. There will be drama in the future. Yuan Shu swore in the last second. Come on. I'm not afraid. And the next second, it shrank into a ball. I nervously asked if it would hurt. This sudden change made Yi Qinyuan panic. I'm afraid that the master will regret it. Your own welfare is about to be gone. But it's all come to this. How could Yi Qinyuan give up? Hurriedly smiled and reassured that it would not be. Master, I'll be very light. The first time I saw the little apprentice, I promised it. Blushing, he asked what I was going to do. It's really come to this point. Yi Qinyuan had just calmed down. A small heart in less than 3 seconds. Jumped up again and frantically. Close your eyes first. Then release the spirit. Releasing a spirit is a very dangerous thing. Most people don't do that. And Yuan Shu had great trust in Yi Qinyuan. He gritted his teeth and closed his eyes. Immediately after that, the spirit began to leave the body. Yi Qinyuan saw that the master closed his eyes. Then he closed his eyes. The spirit then emerged from the body as well. Followed by blue and red intertwined wildly in the air. The spirit was just entangled. That feeling. Yuan Shu couldn't help but hum. Although Yuan Shu's whole body was going to turn red into a small tomato, but he kept hinting at himself in his heart. There's nothing to be shy about. It's nothing. Don't be shy. And Yi Qinyuan suddenly opened his eyes at this time. Looked at the shy master in front of him. I almost didn't hold it. But with strong willpower, suppressed the evil fire in his heart. And then when the soul is about to return to its place, place your forehead against Yuan Shu's little head. Feel the touch coming from the other person's head. Looked at him dotingly. Inner secret pathmaster. You are the most important person to me. That time, after leaving a soul mark, the atmosphere between the two was weird for a while. But because the little apprentice came out on the edge of his body, the rest of the road was smooth sailing. It didn't take long to arrive at the 10,000 Swords sect. Return to the sect. Look at the familiar look around you. Yuan Shu looked extremely excited, bouncing all the way to Skyrim Peak. It's not even in front of the main hall. He waved his hand in the distance and shouted, Uncle Boss. I am back. This movement directly lead to the head and the head of the discussion. They all looked sideways. Although I saw my niece come back safe and sound, the head of the house was very happy in his heart. But when Yuan Shu ran into the main hall, the expression on his face changed suddenly. Said with a straight face what kind of noisy it was. Been out for so long. Forget all the rules. Although the head says so, but Yuan Shu knew. That's not what the uncle actually wants to say. It's just that there is a stroke to dominate. Playfully stuck out his tongue to show that he knew. Yi Qinyuan, who was behind Yuan Shu, heard what the head said. I thought I was going to punish the master. Hurriedly saluted, and said that the head of the house forgave the sin. Master just misses you too much. That's why there will be such a gaffe. I hope that the master will look at the master's young sake. Don't bother with it. Just after Yi Qinyuan finished speaking, A cold snort came from inside the hall. It was in the 10,000 Swords sect that he looked at Long Xiu, who was not pleasing to the eye at the beginning of the Yuan dynasty. He's not small anymore. In the mortal world, you can marry people. Don't you still know the rules? I wasn't used to Long Xiu before the beginning of the Yuan. How could it be possible to give in now? Then he grinned, laughed and said, ouch. Isn't this Long Xiu's mother-in-law? You're that old. It's still in the middle of the infancy. It's a bit slow. Long Xiu listened to it and instantly shot the case. He wanted to talk about Yuan Chu, a person with an unstable foundation. What qualifications do you have to say about him? But I was stunned halfway through the words. He found himself. Now I can't see through this little girl's cultivation. Hell, how did he cultivate so fast? The look of a ghost when I first saw each other. You know what the other person is thinking, said with a smug face, Long Xiu's mother-in-law. Are you wondering why mine cultivation is growing so fast? When Yuan Chu's words came out, Kiki, the wind lord around him, looked at him. They are also curious. Yuan Chu Xiu is why it has grown so fast. Could it be that there is some secret to cultivation? Yuan Chu then opened his mouth. There was an expression of a little devil on his face. That's because I put some people like to say cool things at the time. It's all used in cultivation. The Wind Lords present all knew who Yuan Chu was talking about. But here I am. It's not too arrogant to laugh either. But I still couldn't help laughing. This smile made Long Xiu, who was in the middle at this time. I feel like I've lost face. I'm almost going to rush up and fight where I was. Even in front of the Lord of the Winds. The head of the house who does not smile. They all covered their mouths and laughed secretly. But then he coughed lightly. A round was played. Okay, that's how the matter of the forest vein is arranged. Let's all go down. Long Xiu saw that the head of the house said this. Can only endure it reluctantly. Immediately after that, the stroke master retreated in unison. But before leaving, don't forget to rub Yuan Chu's little head melon. After all, within the 10,000 Swords sect, except that some people don't like Yuan Chu. Most people are still very friendly to Yuan Chu. After all, who doesn't like to be outside of boring cultivation? There can be a cute ghost spirit around you. Among them was a female elder. Before leaving, he also specially invited Yuan Chu to be a guest at his place. Xiao Chu, if you are free, be sure to come and sit with me. The garden country has just offered a new type of nectar leaves. You'll love it. I heard something delicious in the distance. Naturally, they will not back down. Nodding with a smile. Okay, I'll go. Thank you, Sister Zhou. After all that is said, I didn't forget to look at Long Xiu with provocative eyes. Skimmingly, I'm such a double standard. People who don't like it are called mother-in-law. The person you like is called sister. This move lets. Long Xiu, who was about to leave, was not lightly angry. But because the head is on the side. And I'm counting it now. I guess I can't beat this little girl. I could only snort heavily. Walk away. After everyone else is gone, Emochi listened to the wind and looked at Yuan Chu below. Asked Xiao Chu, what are you cultivating now? At this time, Yuan Chu did not forget to hide it from the little apprentice. Without hesitation, he replied in the late stage of the Yuan infant. Emochi frowned when he heard this. He didn't expect that. Yuan Chu's cultivation actually improved so quickly. It was beyond his expectations. As normal, the early officials of the Yuan dynasty are to have a solid foundation. It is estimated that it will be 10 or 20 years. How could it be in just a few years? It's gone up 2 levels. Yuan Chu saw the uncle's face full of disbelief. Then he started to shudder again, laughed and said probably because I was stupid from the heavenly Tao. Looked at Yuan Chu's smug look. Machi listened to the wind and then poured a basin of cold water on him. Why is it still so indiscriminate to speak? Do you want to be confined again? As soon as this remark came out, Yuan Chu suddenly shut up. Cover your little mouth with your hands. Make yourself look well-behaved. Emochi heard the wind and saw why he couldn't ask at the beginning. I simply didn't ask anymore. The follower looked at Yi Qinyuan, this little apprentice who found Xiao Shui harvest. So many years have passed. It didn't look crooked. At a glance, you can see that it is a firm heart. Hard-working people. And at a young age, his cultivation reached the early stage of shock. Not bad, really good. Emochi listened to the wind and looked at Yi Qinyuan, and the more he looked at it, the more satisfied he felt. He turned his head and saw Yuan Chu beside him again. If there is really no comparison, there is no gap. See from afar. The uncle in charge suddenly looked like he hated iron but not steel. Look at yourself with question marks all over your head. I don't know what's going on. Look at this no. A worry-free niece. I don't know what to say when I listen to the wind. Sighed. He said that you should go and change your clothes first. Waiting for a distinguished guest to come. You go with me to meet you. As for you, little apprentice, just stay first. I have something to ask him. Yuan Chu listened to it. I understood it in an instant. Why does the head uncle want to keep Xiao Yuanyuan? It's nothing more than trying to understand your own situation. Then he looked at Xiao Yuanyuan, big eyes blinking. Immediately after that, the voice was transmitted to Xiao Yuanyuan. You must say good things for me. Yi Qinyuan heard what the master said. Then he responded with a smile and said, don't worry. After Master Yuan Chu received the assurance of the little apprentice. Jumping back to Han Jianfeng. He hadn't seen Xiaoqiu for a long time. Go play with him. After the beginning of the Yuan dynasty, Emochi listened to the wind and looked Yi Qinyuan up and down. Suddenly, a very strange question was asked. Obu Qi, what do you think of Xiaoqiu? Yi Qinyuan heard the head ask this. I was also stunned for a moment, but it didn't take long to react. The master is very good. So what are your feelings for him? Machi listened to the wind's subsequent question. Made Yi Qinyuan silent. He suddenly wondered in his heart. Did the boss see something? Then he replied cautiously. The master is the most important person for the disciples. The emotion is incomparable, nor can it be covered in words. Emochi heard Yi Qinyuan say this. A satisfied smile appeared on his face. Praise is good. You're a good boy. Xiao Chu too. It's just that Xiao Chu's child seems to be naughty. In fact, it is transparent. It seems transparent but stubborn. You follow him. Although he is an apprentice. But I still want you to take good care of him. Yi Qinyuan heard what the head said. I was relieved. Hurriedly saluted and lived up to the expectations of the master. It's just that Yi Qinyuan hesitated for a moment. I still said what I wanted to say. It's just that the master's cultivation is too high. Disciples work hard. Cultivation is still difficult to catch up. So many times the disciples take care of the master. Some people have more than enough heart, but not enough strength. Although Yi Qinyuan said it very implicitly, but Machi listens to the wind and is the master of a sect. How could I not hear the meaning of his words? Then he said, if you have something to say, just say it. Yi Qinyuan nodded. Then he said neither humbly nor arrogantly, if he could. The disciple hoped that the head of the sect would allow the disciple to enter the secret realm of Lethe. And Yi Qinyuan was not on a whim. Rather, it was premeditated. Back in the days when the state was opened, it was the demon Venerable who heard that he was doing something to the master. Yi Qinyuan understood. I'm still very weak. If you don't build up your strength as soon as possible, how to protect the master when the time comes? If you can't even protect the master, so what's the point of doing something else on your own? At this time, sit above the end of the wind and listen to the wind. Hearing Yi Qinyuan say this, he was also stunned. I thought I had heard it wrong. You said you were going to Lethe. This can't be blamed on Emochi's reaction to the wind. Although the 10,000 Sword sect is the head of the 10 major sects, naturally, there are a lot of secret resources. Yi Qinyuan said that he wanted to enter other secret realms. I won't have that much reaction yet. The secret realm of Lethe River. It's very different from other secret realms. Not only is there no treasure inside, There are only those demonic beasts that are about to enter the demon. Most of the people who enter it have made a big mistake. Disciple Yi Qinyuan heard the head ask, nodding. Then he also gave his own explanation. The disciple had already thought about it when he came back. I want to improve my cultivation in a short period of time. You have to keep fighting. And the Lethe secret realm is for the disciples. It's a good challenge. Although Yi Qinyuan said so, but Imo Chi still had a trace of worry on his face. After all, Yi Qinyuan is a good seedling. You can't just be too pushy. Just let yourself early. He said with his mouth admonished. You've thought about it. The danger of that secret realm. It's different from ordinary secret realms. It's not just dangerous. There are no treasures yet. If you're in danger inside. But no one can save you. Yi Qinyuan also knew that the head of the house was for his own good. But the secret realm of Lethe is in its own understanding. Is the best for yourself? It's not just a speed errand. Inside the year, and one day outside. And it won't be too far from the master. Rest assured. The disciple has a sense of proportion in his heart. And the mind has been decided. Please also ask for your permission. Machi heard the wind and saw this. I also know that this child is a monk who eats scales. Iron-hearted. I can't be persuaded anymore. You can only take out the secret realm token. Now that you've made up your mind, the seat will no longer be persuaded. This token is the token of this seat. With it, you can come out at any time in the face of adversity. But you have to be careful yourself in the face of adversity. Sometimes danger comes. Maybe the token won't have time to save you. Yi Qinyuan didn't expect to be able to convince the head so easily. I am grateful to thank the head for making it happen. And what he didn't know was the reason why the head is so generous. It's all about Yuan's face. Otherwise, it would be the closed disciples of other wind lords. It's basically how to get to and how to go. After handing over the uncharted token, listen to the wind in tacit understanding. Then he asked a lot about Yuan Chu over the years. After asking, didn't let Yi Qinyuan go immediately. Instead, he stared at him for a while. Just Yi Qinyuan felt. Is there any time when the head of the house has the name of Longyang? Listening to the wind in tacit understanding, he slowly spoke. Xiao Yuan, you look. It's really the best I've seen in so many years. But there's one thing I need to remind you of. Yi Qinyuan was strange. Why did the boss suddenly say that? Especially the second half of the sentence made Yi Qinyuan vaguely feel that something was wrong. Slightly flat eyebrows. But still opened the palm. Door, please speak. Machi listened to the wind and first closed his eyes and struggled for a moment. Then open your eyes. Chensheng said, you are not small now. Firm mind. Calm attitude. Xiao Chu is still young. And now is the time for him to fall in love with his youth. If Xiao Chu shows you anything different, you must not blindly follow blind pets. He needs to be guided on the right path in time. Yi Qinyuan heard what the head said, instantly shocked. At the same time, the expression on his face became very strange. I didn't expect the boss to find out the truth. It's just that the object is reversed. Other words, if the disciple finds that he has other thoughts about the disciple, correct him in time. Reject him. Imo Chi listened to the wind and heard Yi Qinyuan say this. Nodding. Seriously, yes. That's what this seat means. Yi Qinyuan's heart at this time. It can really be regarded as a mixed taste. But he still kept himself calm. Ask. A hand that can be placed on your side. Still trembling unconsciously. Can the disciple know why the head of the sect has this entrustment? Machitan Feng saw that Yi Qinyuan's attitude was calm and calm. I was relieved. But I heard him ask again. A look of pain flashed across his face. But then he sighed. He spoke slowly. These things weren't supposed to be told to you. But since you follow Xiao Chu, it doesn't hurt to tell you. Then Mochitan Wind will be one. Something that no one in the 10,000 Swords sect dared to talk about. Tell it. Xiao Chu's mother is also the previous Han Jianfeng's front master. He fell in love with someone he shouldn't have been. That was his apprentice. It's okay if the two of them are in love. Although the master fell in love with the apprentice, it was a long time ago. At that time, things were also very troublesome. But if everyone kept a low profile at that time, this could have been a big thing. It's a trivial, although it will be seen as a scandal, but it won't have much of an impact. It's a pity. It's my sister. Emochi listens to the rain. Unrequited love of one person. Yuan Jishu didn't have any feelings for him. Although I learned about it at the time, it is also a strong obstruction. Can be coquettish and cute in Emochi listening to the rain for a while. Soft grinding under hard foam. I finally said yes. Decided to match him and Yuan Jishu. But when Machi listens to the rain, happily went to Yuan Jishu to confess. Dramatic moments have happened. What we didn't expect was this. The person Yuan Jishu likes is actually someone else. But he's just unrequited love. That one setback. It didn't make my sister get lost. Stubbornly thinks that as long as you give sincerely, there must still be a chance. But the accident was so unexpected. When Yuer was working hard to pursue Yuan Jishu, an experience made Yuan Jishu poisonous. Life hangs by a thread. To save him, Yuer contributed her own reasons. This saved his life. After Yuan Jishu woke up, found out that he had ruined Yuer's innocence, had no choice but to marry her. But when the two got married, the woman Yuan Jishu likes, suddenly, he ran to the scene in a panic to find him. Said that he married someone before he couldn't help himself. The present days are better than death. Yuan Jishu still has feelings for that woman. And then, the woman's husband also happened to rush into the scene. To help the woman, Yuan Jishu took the initiative to face the battle. As a result, the happy event turned into a battlefield. The 10,000 Swords sect also lost face because of this. And Yuer was heartbroken because of this. The lost soul was brought back to the 10,000 Swords sect. Even if Yuan Jishu is so kind to him. But when I heard that his life was hanging by a thread again, although I knew it was to save the woman, but Yuer once again ignored our obstruction, ran out of the sect, came to Yuan's house again. Look at the man you love dearly in the coffin, although knowing that the other person does not love themselves. But Yuer wanted to save him, or steal his body secretly. This theft caused the anger of the Yuan family, and the 10,000 Swords sect was also furious. Because of this incident, the face was trampled on again. However, the two families searched for 10 years. But Emochi Tingyu and Yuan Jishu were still not found. This 10 years, Yuer didn't know what method to use. Actually, 10 years later, returned the original order of regaining possession of breath to Yuan Jia. He himself dragged his already battered body, walked back to the 10,000 Swords sect with difficulty. As soon as I came back, I was found directly. At the same time, a small doll was taken out of the treasure gourd. Although I was very angry at what my sister did back then, but feel my sister's body that is already full of holes. I couldn't help but feel a cramping pain in my heart. Panicked, he asked your spirit, "What's going on?" "It's already overdrawn. It's about to be overwhelmed. I just wanted to heal his injuries." He got up and grabbed my hand first. "Brother, over the years, I've been to a lot of places I shouldn't have been. The body has been completely ruined. It took me 7 years to give birth to my daughter. It's the end of the crossbow now. It's been a short time since I met me, but my daughter is still so young. I hope you take good care of her." When Xiaoyu said, "I've got a ride on his wrist," feel the noisy and raging power in him. Got it that he wasn't lying to me. Go on like this. It won't be long. Surely there is certain death. But when I was about to go to my father to save him, but he grabbed me. In an almost pleading tone, he said that he didn't want to be a brother. My life is a disgrace to the 10,000 Swords sect. Shame on the father. If it weren't for my daughter, I wouldn't be alive today. I don't have the shame to face my father anymore. Please ask my brother to help me one last time. And I couldn't say no. his last request. But when I was about to find a way, when can you heal him? After all, he is in this situation. If you have a good rest, there is still a glimmer of life. But he made one. The decision not to leave yourself at all a way back. To give the initiation to the little first Daigo. Once the Daigo empowerment is complete, that's when he died. But when I found out, immediately brought his father to the rescue. But it's already too late. The ceremony is over. He was out of luck. Has become a waste. There is no spiritual support. The energy raging in his body. I can't hold it back anymore. Crazy pounding on his body. And when I saw my father coming, he dragged his battered body. Kneeled down. Daddy, I'm sorry for your cultivation. I'm sorry for the sect. And see the little sister like this. No matter how big the resentment is in my father's heart. At this point, only heartache remained. She didn't expect that. Now I actually want a white-haired person to send a black-haired person. Looking at my daughter who has been spoiled since childhood. Now it's what it is. Tears appeared in the eyes of the father, who had always been tough, again. Last time, it was when my mother died. Stepped forward and stroked the little sister's weak and pale cheeks. Asked in a trembling voice why you did this. Why toss yourself like this? But don't worry. I'll definitely save you. The little sister heard this. Just shook my father's hand. He shook his head with a smile. No, my body, I know it myself. To the point where it has come to this. The chances of being cured are simply minimal. And he's about to wake up. It took me 10 years to bring him back to life. I don't want to see him and the other women fly together. I'm tired. Instead of continuing to drag you down, it's better to let this stain die like this. Little sister at the last moment of her life. Stretched out his hand and pointed at Xiao Chu. He was named. Words can no longer be sustained. Closed my eyes forever. Although my father and I on my little sister very much. But the previous thing was too big. Xiaomei's funeral was not too fanfare. Can only be low-key mourning. But what we didn't expect was this. On the day of the funeral, Yuan Jishu actually came. Looking at the corpse of the little sister. His face was full of disbelief. Then he knelt down. The look on his face was very painful. I looked at the man in front of me who had cost my little sister her life. Although I really want to get rid of him on the spot. But he was saved by Xiaomei's life. I could only hold a sword in my hand. Let him get out of the 10,000 sword sect. Never again. Yuan Jishu didn't seem to want to believe it. Everything you see. He thinks we're working together to lie to him. With a sad and angry face, he said, I know. You must be lying to me with the fire. You didn't die at all. Looking at the man in front of him, who was about to go crazy, I dragged him to my little sister's corpse. Let him take a good look for himself. Dispel the unrealistic illusions in your heart. Yuan Jishu looked at Yunar's broken body. Actually made an idea that was the same as Yunar at that time. He's going to take his body away. And how can I let him succeed? He came forward with his sword and fought him. Just when I was fighting with him, the doctor immediately interrupted us. Then I saw the body of my father, Zhang Yuna, hugged Yuan Jishu in front of him. I thought my father was going to take Yuer's body. When it was handed over to Yuan Jishu, the result is the next second. The dark blue flames burst into flames in an instant. Burn Yuer's body to the ground. Immediately after that, the father's cold voice came out. There's no one you're looking for here. The person you're looking for is completely gone. Yuan Jishu looked at Yuer's corpse in front of him. Ashes. It seems like crazy. Make an effort to reach out. I want to catch those points of light floating in the air. I looked at him like this. There is not a trace of pity in my heart. If there is no him, none of this is going to happen. I pointed my sword at him, although my heart was filled with grief and indignation. But he still said indignantly, Today is the day of his death. This seat will not kill you. If I see you again in the future, and thou shalt never be reborn. Hurry up and get out of the 10,000 Swords sect for me. Then it didn't matter whether Yuan Jishu wanted it or not. He was all driven out of the 10,000 Swords sect. It was also at that time. The rules of the 10,000 Swords sect are stricter than ever. No one dares to make mistakes anymore, because they can't afford it. So much so that for so many years, Yuan Chu had never heard of it at all. Anything about his mother. He asked several times, though, but no one dared to answer him. Later, I found out. After the confinement, gradually, he didn't dare to ask any more. It's been a long time, but when Machi listened to the wind, it still seems very painful. After all, he felt it was all his fault. If only he had been more determined, forcibly separated. These things will not happen to them. I'll tell you about it. Just to let you know, Xiao Chu is also a poor child. He grew up without parents. Even if this seat takes care of him, there was still a big gap in his heart. So I hope you can take good care of him. But also pay attention to proportion. Don't let him have other thoughts. When Yichin Yuan was listening to the wind in tacit understanding, didn't say a word. Just listen quietly from the sidelines. It seems like too much information. It didn't slow down for a while. When it came to the end when Yichin Yuan needed to answer, he has always been a good speaker. I didn't know what to say for a while. He loves Yuan Chu. You can do without anything for him. But for now, how can I express this feeling? I already knew that it would be difficult for me to marry my master, but I didn't expect it to be so difficult. It's almost impossible. After Mach listened to the wind, it seems to be caught up in that painful memory. I don't want to say anything more. Waved his hand, asked Yichin Yuan to retreat first. After Yichin Yuan walked out of the main hall, the whole person looks heavy. I feel more sorry for the master in my heart. And when Yichin Yuan was stunned, the uniform costume of the 10,000 Swords sect that had been changed into at the beginning, jumping up and running towards here. I saw the little apprentice come out of the main hall. She waved at him beamingly. Xiao Yuan and Yichin Yuan did not respond. At this time, he was quite melancholy. After all, there is a father-in-law and mother-in-law. I want to be with my master. The odds are simply slim to none. What to do exactly? Yuan Chu only found out this time. The little apprentice's mood didn't seem to be very good. Put away the smile. Quietly came up. Worriedly asked the apprentice brother, "Is it that Uncle Palm Print scolded you?" This sudden voice at the beginning of the Yuan. Yichin Yuan was taken aback instantly. I saw the worried look on the master's face. A smile immediately appeared on his face. Then he shook his head and there was no master. At the same time, Yichin Yuan also figured it out in his heart. I should try to become stronger now. That's the priority. And he is not Yuan Jishu. The master will only be the only one. I would never fall in love with anyone else. Come to think of this, although Yichin Yuan's heart was still a little low, but it's also much better. Then told Yuan Chu about his future plans. The master gave me the experience token of the secret realm. It happened to be near Hanjianfeng. During my time in the sect, I go to practice for 8 hours every day. Yuan Chu saw that the little apprentice worked so hard. Naturally, it is extremely satisfying. I nodded. But it's good to work hard to cultivate. But don't work too hard. After all, there is no end to cultivation. Yichin Yuan nodded after hearing this. Stretched out his hand on the top of Yuan Chu's head. Gentle stroke. The tenderness and pampering in his eyes are still the same as before. But because it was still at Tianji Peak at this time, it has only converged slightly. Get on in. The boss called you over. Yuan Chu was also accustomed to the little apprentice's touching and killing. I didn't think anything was wrong. Smiled and said that I hadn't seen him for so long. I should have stayed a little longer. Don't worry about me. I won't be scolded. Yuan Chu finished speaking. Then he jumped into the hall again. Before entering, though, don't forget to turn around and wave to the little apprentice. I met Xiao Yuan back. As soon as you enter the main hall, at the beginning of the year, he saw the uncle above. At this time, I am closing my eyes and recuperating. I can't help but play with my heart. Prepare to go up and scare him. But as soon as I got closer, Mach opened his eyes when he heard the wind. This made Yuan Chu, who just wanted to do something bad, taken aback. He said humbly, "Uncle in charge. You woke up." Emochi listened to the wind and looked at Yuan Chu like this. In his heart, he understood what Yuan Chu wanted to do just now. But look at the other party's big eyes and cute little faces. I felt that the other party was still young. It's not a thing to love to play something. Even if he does something wrong, I can also help him correct it in time. And what I'm going to say next has something to do with him. Xiao Chu, do you know why I called you back this time? I heard the uncle in charge say this from a distance. I suddenly had a bad premonition in my heart, but still stretch out a small hand. Meng Meng asked, "Didn't you say you wanted me to lead the team to the game?" Machi was still a little hesitant at this time. I think it's a little too early for Xiao Chu. But I thought of what happened to my sister. Don't hesitate again. Actually, there's another thing that called you back. This seat has arranged a family for you. The time is almost there. When the time comes, you will see if it fits your eyes. Yuan Chu listened. I thought Uncle Palm Print was joking with himself, but I saw the other party's serious face. I don't think it's a joke. A pair of big eyes widened. What is the accusation? You're going to give me a blind date. But I'm still a kid. Emochi was not surprised to hear this at the beginning of the feudal Yuan. He knew in his heart that the other party was aware of this. The reaction should be substantial. Then he frowned. Don't be startled. Someone will come. You'd better be nice. At this time, Yuan Chu wanted to fight again. After all, I didn't start a blind date until I was 30 years old in my last life. Wouldn't it be too early at this time? Uncle, I'm only a little old now. Did you arrange it too early? Emochi also expected Yuan Chu to say this. Snorted. You love running around so much. It's better to find someone to restrain you. It's not like you're going to get married right away. What are you anxious about? Yuan Chu saw the uncle like this. I also know that the other party is a monk. The red scales are iron-hearted. I guess I can't change the decision, said with a crying face. So what kind of object are you looking for me? Emochi listened to the feudal Yuan Chu ask, although they will see each other later. But he still said the identity of the other party. You've actually seen this guy before. It is Jiang Yu, the young master of the ancient zombies. Yuan Chu heard the name Jiang Yu again. I didn't remember who it was. After all, it's been several years. Try to think about it. In the heart, my mother sold batches instantly. I rely on this guy. Isn't he the #1 little brother in Xiao Ye's last life? The terrible male protagonist has become my apprentice. My uncle wanted me to marry his younger brother. Then round the expression. Weirdly looked at the tacit understanding and listened to the wind. Asked, then what kind of cultivation is that Jiang Yu now? Tacit understanding to listen to the wind and see this. Touched his head. I was a little embarrassed and said that I should settle the bill. As soon as this remark came out, Yuan Chu jumped to his feet in an instant. He still thought that Jiang Yu's cultivation was so high. It turned out to be just a golden pill. But Yuan Chu thought about it. The opponent's poor strength doesn't seem to be a bad thing. Then the aura around his body skyrocketed. At the same time, he said dissatisfiedly to my own uncle, "You see clearly. I'm out of my body. You find me a husband in the Jindan period. Do you want me to abuse him?" Emochi listened to the wind and looked at Yuan Chu at this time. His eyes widened. The shock in my heart is simply indescribable. It's only been a few years since Xiao Chu went out. It was already a miracle to be able to grow 2 small realms before. Now it has grown a big realm. Is this still something that people can do? And the reason for the speed of promotion before and after. That's a world of difference. One in heaven and one on the ground. Stammered and asked, "What's wrong with you?" Yuan Chu looked at the shocked look on the uncle's face. Said excitedly, "I said that I am the darling of heaven. I covered it up for fear of scaring you. But you see what kind of family you have found for me. I don't care anyway. He wants me to marry him, unless he can beat me. Otherwise, I don't want to. Tacitly listen to the wind, and listen to the outrageous request of Yuan Chu. Is also speechless. After all, in the midst of all the heavens and all the worlds. Now want to find one. A young talent who can beat the beginning of the Yuan. It's almost impossible to find. Could it be my watery niece? Going to find an old monster. Machi listened to the wind and thought for a moment. I still don't think it's appropriate. Although the tone is somewhat serious. But the worry on his face could not be hidden. Xiao Chu, come over for a moment. I'm going to check your cultivation for you. How could it grow so fast? Yuan Chu felt that his uncle was changing the topic now. Trying to distract him. Said loudly, Uncle, can you tell the priorities? Hurry up and settle this blind date first, okay? Just when Yuan Chu was arguing in the main hall, Yichen Yuan, who was walking down the mountain, what a coincidence, ran into Jiang Yu and his party who came on a blind date. Yichen Yuan wanted to ignore this group of people, but when I saw the boy who was headed, suddenly stopped, looking at each other. It feels very familiar. Jiang Yu walked on the road. I'm still a little depressed. After all, this is a light force that falls from the sky, and upon oneself. You should be happy. After all, the other party's cultivation is also high. Family background is also good. It's all low. But this cultivation is too bad. It's already the reason why I was stunned by the other party. It's the other party who is in a bad mood and wants to abuse me in the future. I didn't lose a single blow to fight back. Think of that scene. Jiang Yu couldn't help but tremble. And then a teenager walked in front of him. Attracted Jiang Yu's attention. His eyes lit up. I immediately remembered who this was. The night dust abyss has not gone far. Turned around and stopped him. Hey, who's that? You wait. Yichen Yuan didn't want to pay attention to this group of people. But the leaders of the other side called themselves. Out of courtesy, let's stop for a moment. Seeing that the other party stopped, Jiang Yu hurriedly stepped forward. Young Master Bin remembers you. You are Yichen Yuan. Yichen Yuan heard Jiang Yu say this. I also remembered who the other party was. Isn't it just that I had a fight with myself when I was a child? But after I remember each other, did not worship the 10,000 Swords sect. What the hell is he doing here? Could it be that it has something to do with Master? Is there something wrong with young Master Jiang looking for me? Jiang Yu was behind him first. Say to those who protect themselves. Then he ran towards Yichen Yuan alone. Unconvinced, he said that of course there was something. Defeated by you back then. Young Master Bin is not convinced. We'll learn from each other later. After that, Jiang Yu suddenly discovered Yichen Yuan's cultivation. However, when it arrived, Jin Dan's heart suddenly became unbalanced. Thinking of himself for the sake of giving birth to Jin Dan.